Hello and welcome to Lumio Palooza 2025. I'm Mary Beth Jones, and today we are going to be learning with Michele Lyles from Fort Bend, Texas. Please drop where you're joining from in the chat, a session that you're looking forward to, or something that's maybe already resonated with you. Lumio Palooza is a free global professional learning event led by educators around the world. You'll receive links in the chat throughout, including the survey link for your certificate at the end. Feel free to ask any questions throughout the session, and we'll make sure to answer them for you. Reminder that this session is being recorded. You'll receive all the recordings via email early next week. Snap a screenshot of something you love and share on socials with hashtag LumioPalooza, hashtag GoLumio. Now let's bring up, without further ado, Michele Lyles. Hello, Michele.
Hello, everyone. I think I lost you for a second there, Mary Beth. I hope you can hear me.
We are here. We can hear you loud.
So I'm going to go ahead. I'm Michele Lyles. I'm a tech integration specialist with Fort Bend ISD. I'm not seeing the slide for that, so I hope you guys are seeing the slide for that right now. I am going to be talking to you a little bit about ways that you can app smash with other digital tools that live on the web. Okay, so in this session, what we're going to do is we'll be learning how to make content more engaging through using Lumio and other digital tools that live on the web. And so we'll have time for questions at the end. I'm just going to get through some of these different digital tools. Why are we doing app smashing in the first place? Well, first of all, there was a man named Greg Kulolik, and he developed the term app smashing. And basically what it means is you are using apps to do different things to make it work for your teaching and to engage your students. There we go. So this was coined in 2013. And an example of this in terms of Lumio is you could use a shout it out as a check-in with your students. And then that shout it out could be paired with your LMS. You could put the link to it in your learning management system. So that might be your Google Classroom or your Schoology or what have you. So we use Schoology in my district, and I do this all the time for my teachers who are my students. Hopefully you guys have had the opportunity to try adding PowerPoint to Lumio. What's really great about it is it takes all the work to get a presentation together. So you take your PowerPoint you've already created for teaching, you upload it into Lumio, and you can either upload it as an editable file or just the way it is, it sticks it in like pictures. Each slide is like a picture in your slideshow. And one thing I love about Lumio is it's such an easy transition for teachers to use from PowerPoint because it works like a slideshow. So you can make a slide into a page. You can use a slide as a background for a shout it out. And how you do that is you make the slide you want it to look in PowerPoint, and then you go File, Save As. Instead of saving it as a PowerPoint, you save it as a JPEG file. So it's got that drop down when you do the Save As after you give it a name. And then you can just simply save that picture and upload it into a shout it out or upload it onto a page for your students. So let's see what that might look like. So going to the next slide.
Oh, I think we may have lost Michele here for a moment, but we're just going to keep kind of moving along here through this with the app smashing. I think, let's see, Monica, are you still with us?
Yes. Okay. Hey, everybody.
Right.
So with this is a way of using PDFs in Lumio. So with Lumio, you can add PDFs to your Lumio slide presentation and easily then make it interactive for students so that by creating it as an individual handout, which Mary Beth is showing you here, and by making it an individual handout or group workspace, either one, and even a whole class whiteboard. If you want to model it for students, it's great to have it as a whole class whiteboard because then you can write on it as the students are watching, but then you can change it to an individual handout and students can work individually. So just simply by clicking that individual handout, go ahead and click that. And if you want to pop up your little people screen, Mary Beth, again and share that link, the little arrow up there so that they can have your join code. If you leave it up just for a second, if they have a phone, they might want to join in on the phone. So that way you can see and play with it also, see it from the student perspective. So go ahead and use the QR code if you want. And then Mary Beth will pop that link in the chat for you. And that way you can join. Perfect. And then go ahead. We'll go ahead and put it down now. And I think Michelle's back so she can talk through it, but I was telling them how they could upload a PDF and make it an individual handout, and then students can write on.
And also you'll see in the presentation that there is a text that I uploaded from Newsella. And in that text, I've modeled for students, I've used the gradual release model and shown them how to annotate it. And so I've modeled it doing the I do myself, and then the students will do it with me. We'll do the we do together. And then we'll go on. So I think it's a couple pages ahead of this. And then they have a section where you make it an individual handout, which is a segue. Just your segue was perfect to this, because when they're doing that text, when they're annotating that text, then they are able to show me that they understand the content. And so they are finding text evidence. And then on what you have on right now, the handout is also a PDF. We click student progress on that. Mm-hmm. So it's showing where the I do, the we do, the you do, and then you do on your own. And then I have an extra paragraph in this one that I use with my small groups. So then the next slide is, we were looking at that life cycle of a frog where I uploaded, And if we click student progress, I can see what the students do. And you participants, you can go ahead and start trying to move these. So there, let's click on teacher handout. So as the teacher, I can model using the teacher handout. And then I can show the students what is expected to be done on this. So in the circles, that's where we move those images. And I just brought this, I actually built this in Lumio. And so I moved those images that I brought in through the Bing Safe search. And we can put that in the order that it goes in the life cycle. And then we can use the text I added there to label each one of those parts. So it's a great formative assessment for kiddos. Okay, let's flip on to the next one. And the next one is, I'm sure you all know about, and it's YouTube. Of course, we can use YouTube in Lumio. We can embed it in there, and then we're not seeing all of that extraneous stuff with the ads and that kind of thing. You can, but I have a digital citizenship lesson in there for YouTube on the next slide, next lesson page. And so it plays with sound. We won't take the time to do that right now, but if you'd like to do that on your own afterwards, we'll make sure that it's in student mode so you can do that. And then the next app smashing idea is Lumio and Excel. So what's really great about Lumio with Excel is you can use super sort, rank order, match them up, and now response. All of those tools that are in the gamified learning and then the response, we can use a lot of those and export the results to Excel. And this is what it looks like, what's on this slide right here. So I can see if my students are proficient overall and how they did on each question. And then I can export that into a CSV file, which I open through Excel. So if we look at the next one, you'll be able to do this sort. So I have a super sort for you to do that's red and green. So you can participate in that. You can move those pieces to red and green categories. And of course, this can be done for phonics blends. It can be done in science, living and non-living. So lots of different ways that we can use a super sort. But what's really great about it is now I can go back and I can press on student, there we go, student progress. And I can look at the student progress and I can see how students are doing. And then I can also look at it as a class. What I love is whenever I go to student progress, it reminds me, don't leave this on the screen because you're teaching in front of your students. You don't want them to see each other's results. So it's going to remind me, okay, turn that student facing screen off and I can look at that and see the student progress on my own as a teacher. Okay, so let's go on to the next tool, and that one is Canva. And so I'm not going to have the opportunity to show you how to build it in Canva, but what I do have on there for you is the directions in pictures. Now, I'm really glad I did that so you can see this. So when I go into Canva, I build something that I want to share in my Lumio presentation. Then what I'm going to do is follow the steps on this slide. So in Canva, I'm going to go to apps, and I'm going to see a screen that opens up on the right side, and I can type in what I want to look for in the apps. And I'm looking for Lumio. So I type Lumio, and it goes right to Lumio, and it will say export to Lumio. And so whatever I just made in Canva, it gives me a link. And that link I can copy and paste into a browser, open it up there, or I can just simply go back to my Lumio library, and it's in there. And then I can import it just like I would a PowerPoint or a PDF, and I would import those right into my new Lumio lesson. So the next thing I want to share with you is there's a tool that you may or may not have heard of. It's called Adobe Express. Now, Adobe Express does not have the advantage that Canva has. They're not completely linked. So I can't go into Adobe Express and say, oh, I want to send this file to Canva. But what I can do is I can save it as a picture, and I can upload it to Canva. You'll see on here that there's a little link on this page. So this is an example of a student assignment on this page right here. So I want them to create a vacation dream budget. And so I'm giving them a text here that they need to think about. And then they're going to click on that little link that I have attached to the assignment. And if that wasn't locked, you could see that I could, and Mary Beth, I don't know if you can unlock this or not, but when we unlock it, you would see that there's a menu that comes up right to the right of my text, and I can insert a link right there. I can even do it with pictures now. If like this picture, my vacation dream budget, if I wanted, I could click on that if that was just a picture, and I could add a link to that, and that would link out to the assignment in Adobe Express, just like in Canva. The next thing I want to share with you is Tinkercad. Not sure if you've heard of Tinkercad or not, but it's a great coding tool. It's a free web-based 3D design program that uses basic coding skills. So I'm really app smashing in this one with Tinkercad and with a Lumio page. This is my student's assignment. I give them directions to join my class, and then I give them my code to join, just like when they join Lumio, and then they go into Tinkercad and they create the assignment. On the next page, you'll see that in my Lumio presentation for kids, this is the place where they insert their image that they made in Tinkercad, and then on the right side, they explain to me how they designed it. So, and that link is right in there for Tinkercad for you to click on and go to that website if you'd like to do that at some point. But it's great for teaching design concepts. And then the last thing that we have is another shout it out, but this one is interactive for you. And what I'd like to know is, what are some of the tools that you like using in combination with Lumio? So now that you've seen app smashing with Lumio, what you've probably already done some of this app smashing with other digital tools. So if you could add to that. And what's really great about doing a shout it out is as answers are populated on here from students, I can look for trends and I can drag the trends together, and I can look for misconceptions so I can clear ideas in case there's just, they didn't quite get the lesson. And then that helps me to build my small groups and work with students independently. So I'll give you another minute to do that. And then on the next page, we have resources for you. Oh, there we see some responses. Thank you so much. I've got resources for you for Adobe Express, Canva, Newsela, and Tinkercad teacher page. Oh, yes, with PhET simulations. That's right. We already have some app smashing built in Lumio, don't we? So there are the links to those. And then the next page after that is if you want to keep going, learning more and more about Lumio, we have some great resources for you from SMART listed on that page. There are basically courses for Lumio that you can take in there, and you can learn about the SMART panel on the SMART website. And there are just so many great resources that are put out by Lumio and SMART that we never have to end our learning. So it's a really great program, and I'm really happy to be a sponsor of that, being an ambassador. And then the last thing is we have a survey. And if you'd like to ask some questions while you're filling out the survey, that would be great. I do want to thank you so much for waiting for the session to start. We moved into a new building. This building has horrible Wi-Fi. So I'm like, well, surely it'll work if I'm hardwired. So the whole time trying to get in, and it just wasn't working. So thank you for being so forgiving and hanging in there. I appreciate it. So what questions might you have?
I'm just looking through some of the
You have to
comments.
tell me if it's in the chat.
Yep, that's okay. I'm just looking through here. I see a lot of excitement about the app smashing. A lot of folks not realizing even like FET and DESBOs, that's already in there. The Canva is a huge one. So I really too, like the key point to highlight here, if folks are wondering, if I live in Google Slides, or if I love, just using my PDFs that I've been using all these years, what is really the benefit to pulling it in and kind of smashing these together, right? And really, Michele, we've done such a beautiful job of highlighting is the interactivity piece and making this engaging.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Gone are the days where we're going to just show a slide up there for students. We want them to engage with it, and we want to be able to pull data from it and see how it is they're, pulling some of these objectives. So really, really beautiful job, I think, highlighting some of those tools. A lot of excitement about YouTube, that's ad-free. So that's another one that definitely I know we use a lot of in our classrooms. Let's see what else here. Oh, some folks loving Tinkercad. That's a new one for me.
Engineering design process. And it meets the ISTE standards as well. A lot of the ISTE standards. So that's a great tool.
I think we lost Michele there for a moment, but one of the key points that she was highlighting was the pulling of data. And I know that that's a huge piece for our product development team, that they have been doing an amazing job of just adding more and more and more capabilities for teachers to be able to pull data from here. And you'll notice that the games, they used to just kind of be informal activities. And now you can pull data, like Michele showed. How long did it take them to do that? How many did they get right on the first try, right? As a class, what were some of the ones that we maybe had as a myth that we need to address tomorrow before we start class? So the data piece is huge. Michele, one of the things I'm kind of curious about, you are such a master really here of presenting Lumio. How long have you been using this, and kind of what advice do you have for folks that might just be starting out today on day one of using Lumio?
So one thing that's really special about Lumio is you can use it without a panel. You can use it with one device in the classroom. You can use it with just a projector. But the interactivity that comes with using it in combination with a panel just cannot be surpassed. So when we first got our panels, I would say 5 years ago, it just changed learning dramatically. And students being able to come up to the panel, or it being, basically they say the lessons being shot out to them on their devices using Lumio, joining the class. And so they've really enjoyed being able to touch, being able to be a part of, being able to go back and look. And when you set a lesson to student paced, it's absolutely amazing, because then the students can go back, they can look at your directions, they can look at your exemplars, and then complete their formative assessment. So I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm actually going to highlight that quickly. If I come back to the presentation, you'll notice up here on the top left-hand side, if I click on my participant icon, you'll notice that in teacher pacing mode, as we were going through this lesson, your page is changing with us. Anybody who's logged into our live session, as we're changing, your page is changing. We're kind of coming through this together at the same pace. But a lot of teachers like to use this in stations, right? They might have a mini lesson for the class and then set the students free on their own to kind of continue this. And they want them to be able to reference work that they've done together. So by having the ability up here to toggle that over to what's called student pacing mode, anybody who's logged into my session will now see that the pages and the arrows at the bottom left-hand corner of their slides are now lit up, and you can actually move about this lesson at your own pace. So it does give a lot of flexibility for teachers to allow students to maneuver this, go back to a YouTube video, go back to a math problem that we did together. And once again, if we want to come back whole group, I toggle back over to teacher pacing mode. And now here we are all back on that resource page. So that's a great, great point, Michele, to highlight.
You're amazing. Thanks for carrying it for me.
Oh my goodness. This has been really, really a pleasure having you on here. Like I said, you've really been able to highlight some key points for teachers that are already using a lot of these tools and being able to see how they can work in conjunction with one another. So truly, truly, thank you so much. I do want to remind everybody that the survey link and your certificate is now in the chat. Be sure to fill that out before you close your browser. You'll also receive a recording from this session via email next week. And there are lots more sessions coming up. Head to go.smarttech.com/Lumio-Palooza-July-2025 to register. Share your favorite moments using hashtag LumioPalooza. We love to hear from you, so tag your favorite Lumio connection. Thank you, Michele.